Guten Tag, and welcome to 7th grade German virtual learning. So I wanted to make this video to let you know a few things. First, you're going to be getting all your lessons through Google Classroom. So I will start posting there tomorrow. Your lessons are going to come up like a week at a time, or actually these first 2 weeks all come up at once. They're clearly labeled which to do first. Please do them in that order because they kind of build on each other. So your lessons are kind of building on what we've already started with verbs and pronouns. Really, there's nothing completely new in the first 2 weeks here. It's stuff you've kind of learned, and now I'm putting it together in a different kind of package, pointing some things out and having you practice them in that way. So most days you'll have a video to watch that I made. You'll have some kind of practice on GimKit or quizzes or something, and then sometimes you'll have a short worksheet to fill out on Google Classroom. So don't worry too much if you don't do the worksheet completely right. I may tell you what you did wrong so you learn from it, but any grades that are taken for these 2 weeks are first of all not going to be in SIS yet, and second of all they'll be more like, did you do it? So for my part, I'm more worried about, did you try to do it? Did you attempt it? Did you learn something from it? Than like your actual grade, especially on things that you have to produce and you don't just have to mark as multiple choice in Google Forms or things like that. So don't worry too much about that. Assuming we won't be back in school for after the 2 weeks, since there is a stay-at-home notice out, nobody knows anything yet, but it's fairly likely we won't be going back at the end of 2 weeks, so there may be some changes after that. Okay, now the real reason I wanted to make this video was to talk not just about like grades and what you have to do, but the learning that goes on. This class is not an end to itself. So if you look at this picture I put it up because I'm sitting here looking at this, and where the bridge ends is where I need to get you to go for next year for 8th grade. There's a certain amount of knowledge, ability in German that you need to have in 8th grade. Now, your teacher next year will review, and probably review a little extra based on what happened this year. But the bridge is what gets you there. All the stuff that you've learned in class, each one makes up one of those planks, one of those boards that helps you get across to the next side. So this year, based on what is going on, some of our bridges might look a little bit more like this, because if I'm not there as much to help you get the knowledge, you might have some little gaps there. But you can see that you're still going to be able to get across to the next side, and the gaps are pretty small. You'll be able to fill those in as you go along in your review next year and so on. However, I'm really worried that some of you, especially if you were weaker to begin with, that some of your bridges may start to look like this if you don't do the activities that I send along. If you don't practice them this summer a little bit, you don't have to practice them for an hour every day or anything, but it would be a great idea that some of the Quizlet sites and the sets that I send along that you practice again, so you have a better background when you go into 8th grade and you start reviewing. So this bridge looks a little scary. Like, you might be able to get across, but it's going to be a lot of work. You're going to have to do a lot of filling in. And those of you that this is probably for somebody who was already weak or somebody who doesn't do a lot of the lessons. If somebody was already weak and you don't do the lessons, I'm really afraid your bridge is going to look like this. This bridge is going to be almost impossible to get you to where you want to go for next year. You're probably going to fall off into the water. And yeah, you might be able to swim to the shore, but by the time you get there, everybody else is going to be gone. So what I'm really saying is, I'm afraid that if your bridge looks like this, you're going to end up having to drop the class and start over as a freshman, because this kind of bridge isn't going to get you there. There's just way too much work to be done. So it is really important that you learn the information that I sent. That's really going to be more important than the grades. And again, the grades, I can work with you. If you are trying to do the work, you're practicing on GimKit, I can tell that you've done it. We're not going to let the grades, bog you down. I'm more concerned with, are you practicing? Do you know the vocabulary? Are you kind of keeping up with what's going on? So that's the most important thing. And if you have any issues, I need you to contact me. Don't just not do it. Don't just say, oh, well, I couldn't get on, or there was a problem, or wouldn't let me do whatever. you need to contact me. Either send me an email, it's right here on the screen, rmiles@lindberghschools.ws, or you can also call my phone number at school, and I will get an email, and I will be able to listen to your voicemail from that. And here's the number. It's also on my website, it's on all of the emails that I send home, and I'll put it on Google Classroom as well. Also, there might be a possible Google Meet or Zoom meeting occasionally. That probably depends on how long we're going to end up being out. So make sure you contact me if you have questions, if you have issues, if for any reason at all, even if you just want to say hi, make sure you do that. So hopefully I will be seeing you before the end of school, and until then, tschüss.